to take a look. We're going to check in tonight and discuss with UFC basketball announcer Josh Arbuthnot. And Josh joining us tonight. And first of all, Josh, thank you very much for taking the time to visit with us. And let's look at the NBA from the 10,000-foot level. Let's start with the champions. Denver's off to a really good start. They're not quite in first, but they're right there. They certainly look like they're ready to run it back, assess their season today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark. Absolute pleasure as always. Yeah, it was a great start for the Nuggets, and honestly, if it wasn't for some injuries, including the Canadian Jamal Murray, they would be right in there. A little bit of a tough last few games with Jamal out to 5-5, and Aaron Gordon's now been hurt. Jokic has some back injuries, but a guard like Reggie Jackson's been stepping up, and a second-year player like Christian Brown, he's also been stepping up too. So they're getting a lot of depth that I think some people in the offseason didn't think they'd have when they lost Bruce Brown to Indiana. So Christian, being one of those guys, has been able to step up. Reggie in the absence of Jamal Murray, and it all goes into Jokic, and undoubtedly right now the best player in the world, just how everything revolves around him. You can see why, from the top, he does everything for that team so well.
No question. I think another MVP. I know it's extremely early, but I wouldn't be in the slightest shocked if there's another trophy on his case at the end of the year. But no question, Denver off to a start, and they signed their coach to an extension. So that's got to be good news as that franchise looks to win back-to-back titles. Much of the offseason, and frankly, much of last year was spent looking at the presumptive number one draft pick, Victor Wembanyama. It was won, I'm talking about the lottery, by San Antonio. The big guy has gone and played very well, I think, for San Antonio. But as good as he's played, and he's played really well, don't get me wrong, I don't think San Antonio's looking over their shoulder. He's been overshadowed by another rookie, a guy that missed all of last year with an injury, Chet Holmgren from Oklahoma City. Contrast those two guys, because I think Holmgren is probably the rookie of the year right now. That's not to say Wembanyama couldn't win it, but right today, if they were voting, it'd be Holmgren.
Yeah, it absolutely would be Chet Holmgren. The numbers aren't too far apart. Chet, 18.1 points per game, 8 rebounds, 2.3 blocks. Wemby is 19.2, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. So, yeah, Wemby has the higher numbers. But when you look at the overall play between the two of them, Chet is just all over the court, and he's doing a lot more to lead to winning for this Oklahoma team that has really grown over the past 2 seasons. One of the most exciting young teams that you get to watch, having a guy like SGA who is possibly an MVP candidate. But Chet, he even surprised me. Wemby is an absolute electrifying player to watch. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. But Chet has just played a better all-around game, and he led to winning, which, again, as you were talking about, Mark, that has him on the course to be the direct candidate right now for Rookie of the Year because of that play.
Mm-hmm. And, the other thing is, too, he is a year older. I mean, Holmgren missed the entire year, and, with the benefit of hindsight, it probably wasn't the worst thing in the world, although have a hard time convincing of that. But, stand on the sidelines, get into shape to play the rigorous demands of an NBA season. That's one thing that worries me about Wembanyama. Great talent, but my goodness, he is pencil thin. And it is a demanding position, a demanding job night after night after night. Probably Holmgren benefited from a season on the sidelines.
Yeah, he definitely did. I mean, it's why the NBA has a team like the NBA G Ignite, that they want some of these players to forego going to the collegiate route and come into the G League and get a sense of what it's like to play against NBA-level players. And Chet benefited from doing those scrimmages with OKC all year and then getting to go in the Summer League and showcasing what he could do there. I mean, if you remember, we've had examples of this in the past. Blake Griffin with the Clippers went on to win Rookie of the Year, and then more recently we had the big Mitchell versus Ben Simmons for the Rookie of the Year, and Ben Simmons missed the year and benefited off of that. So sometimes when you get to kind of dip your toes into that NBA pool and get to play with the pros, get to be around the system, live with the NBA lifestyles, like a guy like Chet, at Gonzaga the year before, it's an entirely different system, lifestyle to be at Gonzaga, be in the NCAA world, than to go to the NBA. And same with Wemby being overseas, being in that system, and now going into America. There's a little bit of culture shock, I'm sure, for him. And it's a much different game than playing where he was as well.
Yeah, no question. You mentioned Oklahoma City, and they are being led by the Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You are right. He is certainly shooting his way into MVP contention. And Oklahoma City, a team that was building for the future, well, the future arrived last year. They're now near the top of the conference. So is Minnesota. So is Orlando in the East. These are teams we haven't talked much about in the last few years. Why are these teams moving rapidly up the ranks from the lower tier to right now the top of their conferences?
Well, I mean, it starts as easy as it is from drafts. These teams have drafted ridiculously well, and they have players that can lead their teams well. I mean, it helps with Minnesota and with the Magic. They both have really good number one picks. Paulo Banchero on the Magic and Ant Edwards, who I think when we all saw him at FIBA this year, we knew he was ready to take the next level, but I don't think we saw this level. He's probably compared him to Jimmy Butler, right, where he just kind of puts his heart out on there and he grinds you out. But I also think for the Wolves, Rudy Gobert, some people were saying last year that was maybe one of the worst trades in NBA history, and he's back to the Rudy Gobert that we knew with Utah. It seems like he has adjusted himself to being okay to be the second best player there and letting Ant Edwards be the guy. And for Orlando, too, just a copious amount of guards there, from Jalen Suggs to Fultz to the former Tar Heel Cole Anthony. Paulo Banchero leads the way, the Wagner brothers there. So it's a lot of good depth that they have there. And then you talked about OKC. That's a core that has been building together. And, again, I think a player that really benefited from FIBA. Two Canadians on that team with Dort and with SGA. And, you talked about, well, right now Chet would probably walk away with Rookie of the Year. Dare I say right now, and, yeah, it's early, but you can make a very solid argument that SGA is the current MVP in the league right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll let it play out, but you're right. He's having a great season. By the way, I love Banchero. I love watching him play for Orlando. He's just tremendous. I like him.
He's fantastic.
NBA, as we speak with Josh Arbuthnot, is playing right now what's called an in-season tournament. The games count both for the regular season standings and for these pools that they've made up for this in-season tournament. It's pretty radical, I got to say. I don't know if it's good or bad. Is it even worth getting excited about? I don't know, because the NBA, though, I got to say, is going to the ultimate degree to make this a big fixture on the calendar. Personally, I couldn't care less. I don't know what you think about the whole thing. Let me know.
Yeah, I think I was where you were, Mark. As it's gone on, I have kind of warmed up to it. I mean, it's November, at this time of the year. No one cares about NBA as much as the hardcore hoop heads, as much as you're going to watch your team and whatnot. But I do think it's added a degree to make you put an extra emphasis when those tournament days are on. I know I have when my team's played. I'm like, oh, okay, we're playing tonight. It's a tournament game. Oh, and there's a spread, because you have to score a certain amount of points. And obviously there was the controversy on Friday in the Toronto game with the Pascal Siakam shot that DeMar DeRozan wasn't thrilled about, because the unwritten rule of basketball is you don't take that shot with time winding down, but you need to get certain points because of tiebreakers to get into the tournament. And I think they've done other things to appease players with it, the extra money. You've heard LeBron talk about, some of these players don't make that money. We want to win it for them. A lot of players, too, you see the Indiana Pacers right now, just a tremendous start for them. They don't know if they're going to win an NBA championship this year, but they have a feeling they can win the in-season tournament. So it's a goal for them to have that, and then to have the big spread out of the special courts, and then the tournament in Vegas. I was very down on it like you were, Mark. I have warmed up to it, and we'll see how it concludes.
Yeah. I don't say I was down on it. I just couldn't care less about it. But maybe I'll be drawn in as things get better. And as you say, I know they've tried awful hard for the new courts. Some are very nice, some are creative, some are eyesores. I can't lie to you about that. But
yes, they definitely.
You know what? Let's wait and see. Let's let it play out. It's radical. It's a change, and I get it. Much like the NHL, it's a dang long regular season, and sometimes the games can start to blend together. So I guess they got to give this a shot. Why not? All right, you're going to be busy this weekend. What's going on with the University of Calgary as they approach the Christmas break here?
Yeah, it's the Battle of Alberta this week at the Jack. First and most importantly, the Student Union Food Bank. They will be bringing people in. If you bring your non-perishable foods, those will bring you a discounted ticket, and those will go to the food bank. So that's a really good cause that the U of C is doing. As far as on the court, for the women's side, this is a rematch of the Canada West Final that we saw this year. And the Dinos were having a great season, but then they faced Lisa Tomaitis and the Saskatchewan Huskies and lost 2. So now a rematch with the Pandas this week. It's going to be it always is an exciting matchup. And when you have the Crowchild Classic or you have the Battle of Alberta in the Jack, it's always electrifying in there. The Dinos women have gotten off to a great start. They are a solid team led by Coach Damo right now. So they're going to be looking to get back in the winning track to end before the winter break against the Pandas. And for the men, they had a great week in Saskatchewan. They got back to 500. They got to face an Alberta team that has some great guys. Adam Page, who people may know that plays for up in the Edmonton Stingers squad. When people see them face the Surge, it's his final year for the Golden Bears before he can officially become a pro. So men's game is going to be great. Like I said, it's the Battle of Alberta. No matter what it is, it's always going to be great. But these two teams have clashed in the past, and more specifically, like I said, for the women, it's a Canada West final. So that should be really exciting to see those two squads go off against each other, especially since the Dinos saw the Pandas win the championship on their court this past season.
The women, what, are number 4, I think, in the country right now?
Yeah, as of today, they're number 4. I believe the rankings come out tomorrow. I can't see them dropping off too much because they did lose to an undefeated Huskies team. So you're going to get two teams in the top 10 in the Canada rankings between the Pandas and the Dinos. So it should be an absolutely electrifying matchup.
All right. Well, a couple of games on the weekend, and then they start heading towards the Christmas break. Well, good to get caught up, Josh. Obviously, basketball season carries on, and we'll watch it as it unfolds here and see if Toronto can get out of the muck. They're kind of 500. They're certainly far from terrible, but they don't excite me right now. Maybe that'll change later in the year, but appreciate the time.
As always, thanks so much, Mark.
Okay. The University of Calgary's basketball announcer, Josh Arbuthnot, joining us. Thought we'd just take a,